Good morning, brothers. My name is Bob Melvin. I'm the LEO for Lodge 4. I'm here with Justin Garrett, the host of Masonic Education, the Fredericksburg Lodge Forecast. I'm the Lodge Education Officer, and I am blessed with the Brotherhood allowing me to speak for about 5 minutes at a time at our stated meetings. Justin asked me to share one of the things I have written. All but maybe two of the things I have written came from me. So this is original. Bear with me, relax. It's entitled, Don't Smash a Brother's Bread. As a very young man, I recall going to the grocery store with my grandmother. On this particular occasion, my sister, my grandmother, and I went up to the Teeny Giant. After selecting the items that had been lower priced than the other competitors, Grandmama stepped to the checkout line. My grandmother, a kind, loving, 4-foot-tall embodiment of determination and perseverance, gripped her change purse. Other customers scurried about, the cashier focused, and the bag boy went to work. Suddenly, in a voice honed from raising 5 children through the Great Depression, in a voice one would expect to be used to save one of her dear children or grandchildren from rabid wolves, Grandmama exclaimed, "Don't smash my bread!" It seemed as though time stood still. People were frozen in place, and the impression was seared into our young minds. My sister and I relived the moment over the years, teasing Grandmama every chance we got. As a new Master Mason, I recall remarking that I felt like I'd always been a Mason. My grandfather and 2 uncles were Masons. Grandmama was active in the Eastern Star, and although my father was not a Mason, it's apparent that Masonic ideals influenced his character, and his character influenced mine. Imagine honest men treating each other as cherished brothers. As a new Mason, I heard the phrase, "He's really drinking the Kool-Aid." The food is bad. They made that decision without asking me. So I remember when I was here, he didn't even show up. We never did that before. That's not the way we do it. It's his fault. My brothers, each Masonic journey is as different as the individual and individualistic as each brother. There are often obstacles on the eastward path. To some brothers, the Masonic path is new and unknown. To some, the lodge is much more than a building. Let us always be reminded that the modern day-to-day standard bearers of the virtues and benefits of Freemasonry are not the Holy Saints John, are not the builders of Solomon's Temple, are not the founding fathers, and are not some deceased past presidents of the United States. The modern current standard bearer of the virtues and benefits of Freemasonry is you, me, and us. New brothers watch and listen to us. They see how we travel daily. You see, it was just a loaf of bread to the bag boy. It was just a loaf of bread to the cashier. It was just a loaf of bread to customers within earshot, and it was just a loaf of bread to young children ignorant to the struggles of life. But to a mother and grandmother, it was lunch for the next week. It represented respect for what a grandfather with a 4th grade education had to do to earn it. It represented denial of personal wants in order to satisfy the needs of others. It represented hard work, years of struggle, food for children, and sustenance for another day. It represented obstacles that had been overcome. The bread, the substance of Masonic ideals and principles, is dear to all brothers on the Eastern Path. The bread of Masonry is important. The bread of Masonry is sustaining. The bread of masonry is vulnerable. So, my brothers, don't ever smash a brother's bread. I wrote that in 2017. And I guess I was looking for something to write. And that story popped in my head, how important that bread was to my grandmother. And of course, my sister and I didn't understand it. This loaf of bread. And I think sometimes we as Masons, particularly when we get old and crotchety, we have a tendency to complain. It's not like it was, not like I think it ought to be, nobody asked me, that sort of thing. And I think it's important to we be respectful and cognizant when we speak, particularly in front of new brothers who, like me, have a very idealistic picture of Masonry. I think the principles are real. I think the principles are things we should adhere to. I think that principles and the cardinal virtues are things we should apply to our lives every day. So when someone gets snotty and says nasty things about lodge or lodge members, that's not Masonry. I think people are off track sometimes. There's plenty of positive to be said about Masonry. We don't need to stink it up a little bit with our own bad moods or attitudes. And secondly, I recall being told as a young Mason that you don't know what to say, so don't say anything. Well, not saying anything is really not my forte. And people would ask me about Masonry, and I would just say, well, it's a moral and ethical fraternity. Well, it's true, it is. But man, that's not an answer. That's not giving anybody information. That's just putting them off. Giving them a non-answer to make them go away. So I think there's areas we as brothers need to be daily aware of, certainly our Masonic journey. And as we've seen in the past years from the Grand Lodge, we're no longer told to keep our mouths shut. Now, we don't tell secrets. We don't have that many, but we don't tell secrets. No sense really discussing the ritual with someone who's a non-brother, other than general terms. But there's certainly a lot of good things we can say. I think I've learned that when someone asks me, I just show them my ring. So, well, we're the square and compasses. And just to remind me to treat people a certain way. Just to remind me to keep my my thoughts and actions within due bounds. To not go out of my way to be offensive, certainly no physical offense or anything like that. And that's part of what inspired that short little conversation I just wrote down.